Child Protection Week starts today and will run until the 3rd of June. This year's theme is Let Us All Protect Children to Move South Africa Forward. 1 in 5 children in South Africa is subjected to some sort of sexual, emotional or physical abuse before they turn 18. Save the Children South Africa has called for the strengthening of child protection, and the group is launching a campaign to boost the skills of people working in early childhood development. For more on this, we're now going to talk via Skype to Gugu Xaba, Program Director for Save the Children South Africa. Thank you very much for your time this evening. I want to start by talking about your campaign. Raising awareness is important, but your campaign is aiming to go one step further and to upskill early childhood development practitioners in order to empower them to better protect children. How are you going to do this on a practical level?
On a practical level, we are going to work in the sites that Save the Children is working in. We are working with about 150 early childhood development centers across the country. We work in 5 provinces, so that is Limpopo, Free State, KZN, Gauteng, and Mpumalanga. And what we then are going to do practically with each of these centers, firstly, you and I know that early childhood development in the country right now is a business opportunity, which means anybody can, when they have some resources set up, and be available to take care of a child from morning till sunset when the parents are at work. Now that means we are getting a lot of practitioners that are sitting taking care of children and they do not have the skills. So it means we expose the practitioners that are in the centers that we work in to a course on firstly how to manage an early childhood development center, and then how to take care of a child, because taking care of a child is nothing that you can just come out of wherever you want and take care of the child, because the child has needs that must be understood by the practitioner, and the child should also be able to communicate them to the practitioner. In that way, you have a child and a carer that have an understanding and can be able to take care of others. For instance, the practitioner needs to create a safe environment around the child, and the safety should be physical and emotional. And that means if you are going to scream at this child, you are teaching this child that in order for things to get done, you need to scream. And then it means the child is going to scream back. So basic things like that need to be taught. More so because as soon as you have 5 children around you as an adult, it means you have a job to do. You need to stay emotionally stable in order to teach the children the importance of being emotionally stable. You need to learn that there's a language that you speak to children and they hear you and they can speak it back. So if you're going to shout at them and say, hey, you fool, come here, we have a problem. So it means it's important for even the language. And at times, the practitioners need to know that even when they talk amongst themselves, the children are listening. So it's important for them to always communicate in a way that is always teaching, even though they're not directly talking to the child. And then the other thing, the love that is around the child, we call it warmth, because the child picks up warmth when it's available, coldness when it's available. That is why a child can even pick up when the parent is unhappy. So now they need to create a warm environment that is welcoming to the child, so that the child understands that it's important to be held. It feels good. So it means they must make child feel good in the way they do things, and in just talking to the child. They need to have a listening ear, because children look at you when they talk to you, but then parents always are either on the phone or they are talking, the child is on the bed. So we teach the practitioners that it's always valuable to attend to the child, to be present to the child.
Gugu, I'm going to interrupt you. I do apologize, but I want to address the issue of families and children who don't necessarily have access to these kinds of centers. Often those children living on the outskirts of society in marginalized communities are the very people who really need these services the most. How is your campaign going to provide for those community members and children where they don't have access to a formalized early childhood development centers, let alone daycare centers?
I agree with you fully, such that Save the Children is now working with what we call home-based educators, simply because we've realized that there's a lot of children that are out of formal centers, and it is difficult. So what we would like to do is to go into the catchment areas of the communities that we work in, just to identify what we call a day mother. A day mother is one who sits with 5 children and not registered. The parents of these children know that this day mother stays at home, so they bring these children for her to take care of. And all they are asking for is that mother must just give food and watch over the child. Those are the ones that are common nowadays. More so because Department of Social Development has guidelines on what should be a formal early childhood development. So we have the growth of day mothers, and then we have those that are completely not known because there's 1 or 2 children. So we do have a lot of children that are not in formal centers. And that is why we have what we call home-based educators who need to go around and identify and help us to be able to help the practitioners that are informal.
Gugu, I also want to ask you a very important question. I'm going to ask you to give me a brief answer if you can, even though it's a very vital question. You mentioned in your press release that it's very important for these caregivers to be screened. We know that in formal education settings, this should be standard operating procedure, but how do you go about ensuring that the people who care for children in more informal settings are screened and are reliable and are not going to prey upon children in circumstances where they're supposed to be protecting them?
Right now, we don't have a good system as a country to do that. And that is what we would like to get to. Get to registering the day mothers so that formally social development can be able to have access to them and be able to screen them. Because right now we don't have that system, such that children are in the hands of people that we can easily say are not safe.